What's up, duelists? Today's video is a Pog champion one. I recently asked you guys on Twitter, or is it X now? I don't really know. What do they call it? Are they calling it X? Are we still calling it Twitter? How does that work? Anyway, I asked you guys on Twitter if I were to play in an Edison format tournament at the end of this month, which deck would you like to see me play? And one of the decks that I put on the poll was actually stundge, aka stun. But stundge is funnier and it sounds funnier, so we're going to call it stundge from now on. And this is a deck that nobody voted for. Nobody wanted to watch this at all. Nobody wants me to play this deck. Nobody wants me to have fun playing anti-meta strategies. And I was like, contrarian, I must play this deck. So I've got a cool stun match for you guys today. And I've also got a bonus match with Ancient Gears, which is another deck I asked on the poll if you guys wanted to see. I've got to hop on a flight in about 40 minutes, so hopefully I can get through this video in the next 40 minutes for you guys, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So this is the list I've got here. We got triple Breaker, triple Thunder King, triple Banisher, triple Fossil Dyna, triple DD Warrior Lady, double Cyber Dragon, it's semi-limited in Edison, Grand Mole, Gores, and Track for the monster lineup. 20 monsters, 20 very powerful monsters, and in the Spell and Trap lineup, just 20 of the most powerful spell and traps you've ever seen, and 2 trap holes. Trap hole is basically bottomless number 3 and 4 when you have Banisher up. It also couples very nicely with Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo, so I really like it in the main deck of these stun decks over something like Royal Oppression. And then in the sideboard, we do have Royal Oppression for the Glad matchup, Prohibition for everything we need to prohibit, double Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, double Sirocco for Blackwings and Vayu, 1 Gale because he is just that boy, 2 Pulling the Rug for Frogs, 1 Mask of Restrict for Frogs, 1 Compulsory, a second Road, and a Dust Tornado. Pretty straightforward stuff. The extra deck has everything except for, I do want to make one change moving forward. I do want to fit an Urbellum in the extra deck over an Android. It's very difficult to actually make level 5s in this deck because there's no level 2. So yeah, you don't, unless you get creature swap to level 2, it's impossible to make level 5. But it's very easy to make level 7s with Gale. And so I think having access to the X-Saber Urbellum greatly improves matchups like Dragon Turbo and Frogs. And I think it's something I definitely want to have in this deck moving forward. So yeah, that's it. And then for the Ancient Gear list that I am playing in today's video, let me just pull that up. It's a list I've more or less been playing recently. I'm not 100% on this deck, if this configuration is optimal or not. The card I've been the most impressed with is Ancient Gear Beast. I think this is easily the strongest card in the deck, and I've noticed my win percentage when I draw Ancient Gear Beast is very high. And I'm also pretty high on Doom Caliber Knight. I think these cards are fantastic. The cards I'm not really sold on is actually the Cyber Dragon. I don't think is that good. Megamorph, I cite it out almost all the time. I'm not really sure. It's obviously good for OTKs, but I rarely draw it. And when I do draw it, it's like kind of like a worse limited removal sometimes. And then in the sideboard, I kind of not really sold on Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer right now. I feel like swapping him out for something like more Fossil Dyna Thunder King, stuff that can prevent Cyber Dragon, is kind of where I want to be. Or I just want to go like DD Warrior Lady mode and then just be able to banish annoying monsters like Dandelion or Battle Recruiter. So moving forward, I'm probably going to cut some number of these Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. I'm probably going to add DD Warrior Lady to my sideboard. Maybe 1 DD Warrior Lady and 1 Fossil Dyna. Because right now, we're living in Fossil Dyna's world. This is Fossil Dyna's meta. And the decks that I want to play all include 3 copies of this card. Alright, let's get into the first match. So the first match is up against Lando Scopes. I am playing Stun in this matchup. I win the Rock, Paper, Scissors, which is key. He has 41 cards, which could be a lot of different things. We've seen a lot of decks recently top with over 40 cards. One of which was the 45 card Norlaris deck. One of which was the 45 card Norlaris deck from RBT Orlando. And then the first place deck from RBT Orlando, first place Vayu Turbo, was also playing 41 cards. So it's pretty common to see somewhere between 40 and 41 cards in actually standard or competitive lists. I personally still think it's right to play 40. You just want to draw your most powerful cards as often as possible. And speaking of drawing the most powerful cards, I've opened up with Trap Dust Shoot, which is very nice. So I get a normal summon Thunder King. I'm going to set Book of Moon and set Dust Shoot. I'm not going to set the Typhoon. I don't want to get blown out by Heavy Storm. So I'm just going to Dust Shoot the opponent here, and we're going to see their hand. So you can see from their hand, he's got Gravekeeper, Skill Drain, cards, which means he's playing Gravekeeper Burn, which is kind of another stun deck, basically. So we're playing a stun mirror, which is really cool because our list, I think, actually does pretty well into the stun mirror. I'm going to go ahead and pull our list back up so I can show you guys exactly what I am talking about here. All right, there we are. So in the main deck, we do have Heavy Storm, we do have Space Typhoon, so that's ways to clear back row. We've also got Triple Breaker. So we actually have 5 ways to interact with back row, 5 spot removal ways to interact with back row that most decks, you know, they usually have like Caius or something in this spot. So usually a lot of decks have like somewhere between 5 and 7 spot removal spells in their deck, or spot removal things in their deck. So yeah, it's not too bad. And then also we do have that Grammel, which can help us against Set Spy if we run into that. And we also have like Banisher, which is shockingly good versus the stun deck. So yeah, so we're going to take the Gravekeeper Spy. Obviously, this is the card that's hindering our existence. He could do a couple of different things here. He could smash and ground our Thunder King and then activate the Commandant. He could normal summon the Commandant and try to attack with the Thunder King using Book of Moon, which is something he could do, or he could just smash and ground the Thunder King and do none of the above. So those are his options. He could also just ignore the Thunder King and activate level limit Area V. There's really no reason for him to care about this Thunder King as long as level limit Area V sticks. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking his play this turn is going to be activate level limit and then maybe set skill drain and pass. He's going to shuffle away the Spy. He is actually going to activate the Smash and Ground. And because he's activating the Smash and Ground, I'm like, okay, that means he must want to activate the Commandant. But then he doesn't. He just summons the Commandant and gets in his chip damage. And while chip damage is important for the burn deck, this is an extra turn. He no longer has to wait with Wave Motion Cannon. I don't know if it's worth like not having access to Necro Valley here. I think grabbing Necro Valley is probably better for him. Once he plays this level limit Area B, his Commandant's pretty much going to be a -1. So trading a card for 1600 burn, while it's not the worst thing in the world, if this deck can stall 7 turns, it can stall 8 turns for Wave Motion. So yeah, I think that this is maybe not optimal. I'm not really sure though. Maybe it is worth it. That's something that I don't have enough familiarity with the Gravekeeper Burn deck to really know. But I do think the Gravekeeper Burn deck is actually a legitimate deck. I think it's a deck that sees no play because people have sort of a negative connotation towards it, but it is a deck that has a lot of potential. So I summon Banisher the Radiance here, and this can run over the Commandant under level limit Area B. Like I said, Banisher the Radiance being 3 stars is incredible here. So we're going to go ahead and attack over that Commandant. He's going to lose the Commandant. It's going to go to the Banish Zone, so he can't use Gravekeeper Steel to add it back. I'm going to set the Typhoon. There's no reason not to. I know his sets are Book of Moon and Skill Drain, so there's no reason for me not to set the Typhoon. There's no really a reason for me to activate it on the level limit right now either. I might want to be able to Typhoon that Skill Drain later to make sure Banisher is up so I can't be Wave Motion Cannon. He draws Royal Tribute, passes a turn. We draw Breaker, which is fantastic. I'm just going to summon the second Banisher and try to apply as much life point pressure as possible. I don't need to commit my Breaker quite yet and force his Skill Drain. I actually want him to use his Book of Moon first so that when he Skill Drains my Breaker, I can chain Typhoon to the Skill Drain and then blow up his level limit Area B with the Breaker. So I want to force the Book of Moon before committing the Breaker, basically. I want him to have only one way to interact with the Breaker and have that way be the Skill Drain. So we're going to attack for 3,200 damage, which is actually respectable damage here, and we're going to pass. He's going to draw that Wave Motion Cannon, which is perfect for me because that card actually does nothing into Double Banisher unless he wants to flip that Skill Drain, and if he wants to flip that Skill Drain, then he's going to die. So yeah, we draw Cyber Dragon. This forces the book. He's going to book one of them. We attack for 1,600. He's going to drop to 3,200. He's going to draw Dark Bribe, and he's going to admit defeat because there's nothing he can do to stop these 2 monsters from attacking. So once again, Banisher the Radiance really strong in the level limit stall burn matchup. So going into game 2, the way I sided was... Oh, I lost connection. Give me a second. I sided in Dust Tornado, and I sided in Gale. And I kept it really simple for going to game 2. Now, going into game 2, I made one error in sideboarding. I didn't side out Trap Dust Shoot. I just completely forgot to, which is something I need to get better about doing, especially if I'm going to be competing in tournaments. I did side out, I believe, Gores, and I did side out, I believe, one Dyna for the Dust Tornado and the Gale. I think that's all I sided. I might have also sided in the Compulsory, but I'm not really sure. So that's what I sided for game 2. So we go into game 2. game 2, oh, I'm just going to hide his hand there. We open up with not as good a hand we had game 1. Obviously, we're going second, so we don't have that ability to have that busted dust shoot. And we also don't have any level 3 monsters. So level limit or gravity bind is just going to shut us off completely. On our turn, we draw Book of Moon. And he only set 2 cards. So I'm thinking this is about as good as our Heavy Storm is going to get. I'm going to play it. I play it, and it works out. If he had Starlight Road, so be it, right? I would trade my Diner and my DD Warrior Lady for the Stardust. And that would suck, but this mirror match, or not this mirror match, this matchup is not about card advantage so much as it is about being able to clear the key cards. And the key cards in this matchup are Wave Motion Cannon, Level Limit Area B, and Gravity Bind. How well can I clear or play around those key cards? Card advantage will very rarely play a role in this matchup. Here I go Dyna Summon Attack. I'm going to take 800 attacking into Spy, but that's okay because it's still 8 turns for Wave Motion Cannon. He's not going to be able to activate the Spy here. I'm going to set 3 and then pass the turn. He's going to go Level Limit. He's going to try to summon Airbellum, and he can't Synchro here, but he could attack over my Dyna, so I'm just going to bottomless this. I considered saving the bottomless for a potential Descendant, but I figured if he had Descendant, he would have gone for it. So I go for the bottomless. I just want to banish the Airbellums. Normally, sometimes this Gravekeeper Burn deck sides into a Rescue Cat plan, and that's going to play well into our back row. We pick up Torrential, which is nice, so I can go ahead and just set 2 more and pass the turn. He finds another Airbellum. He's going to attack. Of course, drawing double Airbellum. That's the classic for any deck that plays Rescue Cat. We're going to clear that X-Saber Airbellum, and he's going to set 1 and pass. We're going to draw Banish to the Radiance. There's really no reason for us to summon this quite yet. He does find that Wave Motion early, while we have no pressure and no way to really get through the Spy, and I'm just like, well, I need this Banisher to stick pretty badly. So I draw D-Prison, I set the D-Prison, I pass. He's not going to launch Wave Motion next turn. I really don't need to play this until right before he's about to launch it. So we are going to draw that Dead Dust Shoot that I did leave in. Very unfortunate mistake here, because if this were something like, I don't know, Prohibition or Compulsory or something, we might have had a better chance this game, because I could Prohibition, name Skill Drain, and then be fine with the Banisher. He finds another back row, sets it. I go ahead and flip DD Warrior Lady, go for Torrential. He flips Dark Bribe. We draw Smashing Ground, which makes me very happy camper. I summon Banisher. I go for that Smashing to remove the Spy. I attack with the Banisher, and he goes Mirror Force. And I chain Book because I just need my Banishers. So here we are going to pass the turn. Now, if the opponent doesn't have a way of dealing with the Banisher, he should activate the Wave Motion now. He makes a bit of a misstep. He normal summons Rescue Cat. Switches it to defense because of the level limit area B. But you can't actually activate Rescue Cat here because I have Fossil Dyna in play. And I'm fairly certain you can't activate this Rescue Cat here anyway because 2 of your Airbellums are gone. So I don't think he even has a 3rd target or a 4th target. Usually they don't play more than 4 because they only have so much space. So I'm like, yes, you cannot activate that. And then, yeah, he sets 1, passes the turn. We draw our Compulsory. I must have decided it in. I'm not sure over what. I flip the Banisher, I attack the Rescue Cat, that goes goodbye. I set the Compulsory, sets, passes. We draw Breaker, and this is where the game gets interesting. We attack the set monster. It is Sangan. Sangan gets banished. This part of the game is where I summon Breaker, the Magical Warrior. I activate the effect to blow up level limit area B. Now, I could have used this Breaker to blow up that Wave Motion Cannon and just make sure there wasn't a potentially lethal threat in play for the rest of the game if he is to find Skill Drain, but I figured I can beat him in 2 turns if, because Mirror Force and Torrential are gone, I can beat him in 2 turns if I clear the level limit. So I pass a turn. He tries to activate the Wave Motion here, but I tell him he cannot. I link him the Ruling. It needs to send to the grave for cost, so you can't do that under Banisher. Anything that needs to send to the graveyard for cost or discard to the graveyard for cost can't be activated under Banisher. The biggest ones that come to mind are Rescue Cat, Wave Motion Cannon, Thunder King Ryo, and Bryonic Dragon of the Ice Barrier. None of those 4 cards can activate while Banisher the Radiance is face up on the field. He sets another back row and passes the turn. Here, my dumbass doesn't see the Mirror Force that's right on top of his graveyard, so I switch my Banisher to defense. I attack. He goes Gravity Bind. I miss 1600 damage here. Main phase 2, I Compulsory my Breaker, and again, I'm just seeing red. I summon the Breaker. And what I should have done here was just blow up the Wave Motion Cannon and have infinite time. But what I failed to do was exactly that. I just summoned this. He decides to bottomless instead of letting his gravity bind die, and I let him take it back, because you know what? We're just playing the stun mirror. It's a casual game, like whatever, you know? Sometimes it's like, oh, he just forgot to bottomless. That's fine. Here, he goes Messenger of Peace, and I'm like, well, fuck me. I cannot attack now. I cannot do anything now. Messenger of Peace is like actually completely stonewalling me. And yeah, I just got a little bit too hasty with everything, and it's kind of coming back to bite me. So yeah, I set my call. I normal summon my second Banisher and pass. He sets a card. He pays 100. He passes the turn. We draw Thunder King. We have to pass till we find a tuner or something. He pays 100. And then yeah, he just activates Skill Drain and activates the Wave of Motion, and we lose. So I didn't correctly identify the threat here. I thought the threat was level limit area B. I thought we would have been able to win once level limit disappeared, but now upon seeing how many ways he has to stop us from attacking him, in the next game I'm going to be going after the Wave Motion Cannons much more aggressively if I have the opportunity to, and then Trap Dust Shoot is also getting sided the fuck out for game 3. So going into game 3, I remember the cards I sided out now. I sided out Starlight Road, I sided out 1 Dyna, and I sided out Gores, and it was for Compulsory, and it was for Gale, and it was for Dust Tornado. And then going into game 3, I sided out Dust Shoot for Prohibition, because Prohibition named Wave Motion Cannon should be okay, theoretically. I start off with Thunder King, which isn't the worst. It stops Commandant. He sets one, passes. We draw DD Warrior Lady. I summon DD Warrior Lady because I figured, you know what? Fuck it. It's not really about card advantage. He does have Mirror Force. He does get us there pretty good. We set the trap hole and we pass. He sets a bunch and activates a Wave Motion. I'm like, alright, that kind of sucks. But here comes Cyber Dragon. I'm going to attack the middle set. But he's going to flip Gravity Bind. So because he flipped the Gravity Bind here, I kind of had to read that this wasn't Sangan. Boy, was I wrong. Gale's going to get summoned. It's going to have our Cyber Dragon. And I'm going to take this as an opportunity to get my Tragodia in play, because Tragodia gives us the option to modal into Black Rose Dragon. So yeah, he attacks over that, and we draw Space Typhoon. I'm like, okay, now I can safely Black Rose through Starlight Road, or I can unsafely Black Rose into a potential Starlight Road, saving the Typhoon. Now it's high risk, high reward to save the Typhoon. We do know he is playing Dark Bribes as well as Starlight Road, so he's probably not playing like 3 Starlight Road. It's probably more like 1 or 2. But I think it's just not worth the risk. If I save the Typhoon and he has Starlight Road, and I spend my Gale and my Tragodia to give him a Stardust Dragon, then the Stardust Dragon is going to potentially negate the Space Typhoon as well. I figured the risk wasn't worth the reward, and I could beat him 1v1 Cyber Dragon versus his top deck. So I go ahead and Typhoon his back row. It's Dark Bribe. I go ahead and normal summon Gale, and then I synchro into Black Rose and I blow up the field. And this is where I get super mixed up and super surprised that his set was Sangan. I figured if, you know, he had Sangan, he would have let me run it over with, I believe, Cyber Dragon. Yeah, he would have let me run it over the first time I attacked with Cyber Dragon. Not obviously with the Thunder King in play, but the second time I attacked with Cyber Dragon, I figured he would have let me run over the Sangan just so he could search for something. So I'm like, oh, this is really bad, especially if he left in Cat or Monk. So he's going to activate Sangan, and he's going to go search Morphing Jar, and I'm like, that's amazing. That's best case scenario for me. I have a pretty high density of back row removal. We did use our Space Typhoon already, but we still have 3 Breaker, 1 Dust Tornado, Heavy Storm, and Compulsory to reuse the Breaker. So we still have a pretty high density of back row removal. So if we do resolve into that Morphing Jar, we're going to be feeling pretty good. He goes T-Set. We draw one of those back row removal cards, and I'm pretty happy about this. I go Cyber Dragon, Breaker Pop. It's going to hit a Royal Tribute, which would have been really annoying to face off against. Once again, just showing off the power of Breaker in this format. Cyber Dragon attacks. We get to draw 5 new cards. He gets to draw 5 new cards, and now that I've drawn the Prohibition, which also is a pseudo-soft back row removal, I can play that, naming Wave Motion Cannon, and it'll be pretty unlikely that he'll be able to ever get over any of my cards. So I go ahead and attack directly for 16. I figured this deck is probably not playing Gores with all these continuous and sticky cards. And then I go ahead and activate Prohibition, naming Wave Motion Cannon, and I set Bottomless and Deep Prison. I pass the turn, and this is where he messes up. He normal summons Cyber Valley. And for those of you who don't know this, that is a machine type monster. And so is Cyber Dragon, and they can fuse together to make Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. He sets 4 back row and passes the turn. We draw a Heavy Storm, so we're looking pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and just Contact Fuse into Chimera Tech, which is very bad for him. It's just very, very bad for him. We're able to attack for 1600. He's going to let the 1600 through. Now, he thought on that 1600, which told me he does have Magic Cylinder, but I figured I'll just proc the Cylinder. 2000 damage doesn't really matter when I'm shutting off Wave Motion Cannon with my own Prohibition. He Cylinders me. We take 2000. I pass the turn. He sets a monster. We draw Thunder King. Thunder King's a good draw, or we draw Smashing Ground, sorry. Thunder King's a good summon here because I can attack with Chimera Tech, and if it is a spy, which it is, he can't summon a Descendant, so we'll be able to attack over it if he does with Thunder King. He's basically forced to get his third spy, I believe. Second spy, or a guard if he has another guard in his deck. Here we're able to Smashing Ground one of the spies. The reason I'm Smashing Grounding a spy here is if he does draw Descendant, then I want him to only have one pop, basically. Pass the turn. There's Necro Valley off the top. And then he's actually going to make a very aggressive play here, sacrificing the spy for Caius. Caius is going to target the fortress. And the reason he makes this aggressive play, you're going to see here in a second, is I go for the Bottomless, he goes for Dark Bribe. We draw into Banisher. Okay, so that's one of our 2 removal spells. We are going to lose our Chimera Tech, and we are going to lose 1,000 life. So that's a pretty big swing for us. We're losing our best monster and a lot of life total versus Burn deck. He's going to go ahead and attack. We're going to flip our second removal spell, and he's going to activate Solemn Judgment. So this is why he felt so safe going for the Caius. Normally, you'd want to sit back on your spy there, chill out for a bit, vibe, until you have, extra resources, extra monsters in play, so that going for the Caius doesn't leave you so open. He goes Solemn Judgment. That's going to negate the Deep Prison. He's going to drop to 2400, and now we're actually in a pretty bad spot. Because as you can see from this position, even though we have card advantage, once again, this matchup really isn't about card advantage. It's just how well you can clear key cards. And he's done a great job of making sure he can clear the key cards, which in this matchup is the removal spells. He's done a great job of playing through those and then just establishing a fat threat that outclasses basically all of my cast except for Gale and DD Warrior Lady, half of which are in the graveyard. So, yeah. Thankfully for us, we do draw Grand Mole. So I'm bailed out. There's actually very few cards I drew that immediately handled this situation. It was just, I believe if we look at the list, 1 more Book of Moon, 2 more Smashing Grounds, 2 more DD Warrior Lady, so 5 cards there. And the Grand Mole. So only 6 cards that immediately answered the situation. Which is pretty lucky to get a 6 out of 22 shot. I got very lucky to do this. Plus, he did have Book of Moon. So if I didn't also get lucky and have the Heavy Storm, yeah, it would have been tough for him. He books the Thunder King, destroys the Necro Valley, attack with the Grand Mole, bounce the Caius, attack for 19. Now, if he does draw Battle Fader here, I do kind of get owned. But he draws a back row, he sets it, and as you can see, that's not going to stop the lethal Thunder King attack. So a very close matchup, I think, between these 2 decks. He put me in a really bad spot there at the end, and I got something that was roughly a little under 25%. So maybe a 23%er. I had to hit a 23%er to really be in this game. I could have stalled out a little bit, set a few more banishers, etc. But the position, it was not improving unless I found one of those 6 cards immediately on that turn. So really, really lucky draws from me in what was otherwise a pretty close match. It was a pretty exciting match. I think the Stun Mirror, and I think playing Stun in general in Edison format is really fun. It's up there with one of my favorite decks. It's up there with dragons. It's up there with Black Wings. It's up there with fairies. If you'll notice me as a player, my personal play style, and the decks I like to play the most, the decks I like to play the least are synchro combo decks. Outside of Quick Draw, I really like Quick Draw because it's cool and unique. But I don't really like playing zombies. I don't really like playing Willy Dad all that much. Willy Dad is cool. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I don't really like playing Dragon Turbo or Diva decks. Diva Hero doesn't really appeal to me. I really personally just enjoy playing stun decks. And that's kind of cringe because most people don't enjoy watching stun decks. So I try not to play it as much as possible, but it's definitely up there with one of my favorite decks. I like all the monsters in the deck as well. I just like their aesthetic, Breaker and Thunder King. And, just all these monsters look really, really cool. And it's just a cool mix of spells, monsters, and traps, and it's every part of Yu-Gi-Oh that I enjoy, which is just like positional advantage and trying to pick up micro advantages and leveraging your battle phase and your combat tricks and everything. Like, it's just everything I enjoy about Yu-Gi-Oh! In one deck. Is it a good deck? Is it the best deck? I don't know, but it's really, really fun for me personally. And so I might end up taking it to the tournament at the end of the year. All right, the next replay I want to show you guys is this one. This one is actually a really, really close game between me and Akakiri. So, yeah, opening up, we do have our Ancient Gear Beast, but we are going second. That being said, this card drastically improves your win percentage. If you open up with this card, you're more likely to win than not. It's one of the best going second monsters in the format, by a lot. Sets a monster, passes the turn, and you can already see where this is going. I misclick here. I accidentally send my Gear Town to the graveyard when I'm trying to activate it. I normal summon the Ancient Gear Beast. I set this, I go get my dragon. And now I'm at least going to get 3,000 damage in this turn, and then next turn if he doesn't set another monster, we have game through everything with Doomcal. So, yeah, I'm going to run that guy over, negate it, and this is why Ancient Gear Beast is so devastating. Ancient Gear Gajiltron Dragon is going to deal 3,000. We're going to pass the turn. He's going to draw a card for turn. He's going to normal Dandelion, activate enemy controller. So a really interesting play just to get rid of the Ancient Gear Beast. It basically forced him to do this, but it's actually not a terrible play. It's going to go enemy controller, get 2 tokens, run over the Gear Beast. Basically just activate this as a smashing ground and deal 1,000 life points, which is pretty strong. That's pretty strong. Gonna clear my guy. He's gonna pass back the Gear Gajiltron Dragon, and I draw another beast. I'm like, that's pretty darn good. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna try to summon another Gajiltron Dragon. Basically, I want to sandbag the beast as long as possible. So I summon the Gear Gajiltron, and he has Torrential, so he's gonna counter both my cards. And I'm actually looking pretty low on life total here, and he has that Dandelion in his graveyard. So things are actually looking pretty bad for me here. He draws for turn. He normal summons Card Trooper. He mills 3. And he hits double Kaius. So he's got 4 monsters for an Avarice, potentially. He's going to attack for 19, dropping us to 3,100 life points. He's going to set a back row past the turn. We do have Ancient Gear Beast. Again, when you draw this card, your win percentage just goes up drastically. I'm going to pay 1,000, normal summon the Ancient Gear Beast. You'll notice his back row is a bluff. We are going to attack over that Card Trooper, and thankfully we did draw Regeki Break. So despite drawing 2 Gajiltron Dragons this game, we did find enough conversions, both the Mausoleum and the Regeki Break, to be able to utilize both of them to turn them into real cards. The real strength from Ancient Gears comes from the advantage you get by battle. You make their battle traps useless, and then with Ancient Gear Beast, you also make all of their starters, like their Raikou hamsters, that sort of stuff, useless, or their like Shining Angels, their Goblin Zombies. This card just makes it so your opponent's starters aren't real cards versus you. And so yeah, you find pseudo card advantage in that way. Even though when you're playing Ancient Gear, you do start the game at a pseudo -1 because field spell, even the field spell loop puts you -1. You can pick up that card advantage pretty easily using Ancient Gear Beast. So here he's going to go Pot of Avarice. First things first. You'll notice his hand is Raikou and Plague. So if he had just gone, Brain Control, Summon, Plague Spreader, possible we lose here. It's very possible. We would have had to Regeki Break our own Ancient Gear Beast. And then he attacks for 400. We can't summon the Ancient Gear Gajiltron Dragon. We just have Doom Caliber Knight left over. That's going to trade with the Plague activation. And then all of a sudden we have nothing to his Plague Engrave plus everything else. So, yeah, if he had gone Brain Control, Normal Summon Plague, he goes Pot of Avarice. He draws into 2 new cards. And you'll see he finds Lone Fire Blossom. Now, it is usually right to go Lone Fire Blossom into Titanial, given most circumstances. However, in this circumstance, it's definitely better for him to go for the Plague. That being said, he doesn't know what my back row is, so I think he's just going to go for this Lone Fire, activate, go get Titanial out of the deck. Because this is pretty safe, right? You just Brain Control and you feel like this should win, right? Wrong. We are going to be able to Regeki Break, force the Titanial off the field, and he's going to attack us, but only down to 100. So we're going to drop down to 100 here. He's going to pass back the Ancient Gear, and we're going to summon Doom Caliber Knight for game through Gorse and Trag. The only thing this isn't game through is Battle Fader, so that could have definitely got us here, but thankfully we were able to pick up game 1. Now game 2 is a little bit difficult. I said very silly game, I said very close game. It was a very close game. We survived at 100 life points, almost exactly. Game 2 gets a little bit difficult. One of the cards I know people side out a lot is Limited Removal. I hardly ever side this card out, just because I think it's broken. But obviously when you're breaking on Yugioh dragons as much as I do, it's best to side out other cards that can potentially be dead in your opener. That being said, we do have a Dyna. We do have some stuff to work with here. He does summon Lone Fire, but this is fine. He actually goes into Dandelion, which makes me fairly happy here. There is an issue. There is an issue, though. A big issue. He's going to activate Dust Shoot. And as you can see, once this Dust Shoot resolves, things don't look good. So we're going to shuffle our Dyna back. We're just going to pass. There's really no reason for us to get too crazy with it here. He's going to charge, go find Raikou, set the Raikou, and pass. Now on our turn, we do pick up that Machina Fortress, and we have a couple of options. We could Heavy Storm, use Machina Fortress to attack into the Raikou. There's a chance he just mills even. But I think the best play is actually to use Regeki Break to destroy the Raikou after Heavy Storming, pitching Machina Fortress, and then turning our Yugioh Dragon into a Monster Reborn. So I'm going to go Heavy Storm here. I'm going to go set Regeki Break, use Regeki Break to blow up the Raikou, deny him the mills, just so he's like super far off Avarice. And I'm pretty sure he has Titanial in hand at this point. So we've each drawn one of our bricks. As you can see, he doesn't have Titanial in hand. He just didn't go for it turn one for some reason. I don't really know why, but whatever. In any case, we pick up Cyber Dragon. We're just forced to pass the turn. There really isn't a great play here if we assume Titanial is in his hand. Because if I go Cyber Dragon and I attack him, he's going to get 2 tokens, and then he can sack them both for Titanial, and they can run over my Cyber Dragon. All of a sudden, things don't look so good. He draws, he passes. We draw Needle Ceiling, which is a good card. We set it, and we pass. And this is a catastrophic misplay. It may not seem like much, but this misplay is a game-losing misplay. You'll notice my dumbass hasn't been committing to the board, so that means he can't convert Caius, right? I set Needle Ceiling here. If he sacks for Caius, targets the Needle Ceiling, it goes Chainlink 2 Caius, Chainlink 1 Dandy. Even if Dandy resolved before Caius, I wouldn't be able to use the Needle Ceiling. You know what I mean? So even if there was a different chain order, the Needle Ceiling's getting banished here. So what I should have done was held the Needle Ceiling until it was live. And this is an absolutely game-losing misplay, because I lose one of the best cards in this matchup for no fucking reason. Like, just for actually no reason. I definitely should have set the Typhoon here, or something chainable to force the Caius, get the tokens plus the Caius in play. Next turn, I can maybe set a monster, activate Needle Ceiling, blow up his whole board. This is just dumb. This is just poor play on my part. And this is why you need to practice. You know, this is just why you need to practice, because if you make mistakes like this, it's costly. We draw Trap Dust Shoot here, and I'm like, awesome, maybe he didn't have the Caius. I'm going to set the Trap Dust Shoot and pass. I'm going to go ahead and Trap Dust Shoot him. As you can see, he has double Caius, and he has since drawn the Titanial. I take Debris Dragon, hoping he might not want to play one of the Caius. My hope here was that he would tribute Dandelion for Quick Draw, Synchro into Drill Warrior, but obviously he's going to sack for Caius to clear the way for Quick Draw Drill, so yeah, there's just no getting around this. I just got fucked this game by setting my Needle Ceiling when I should have set my Typhoon. That's pretty much it. Here he's able to make the Drill Warrior. Now imagine. I still have my Needle Ceiling in hand, and I cleared his back row. Oh, brutal loss. Absolutely crushing misplay on my part. I definitely deserve to lose this game. I definitely deserve to lose it. I do have Typhoon. I can bring back the Fortress, but it's just too little too late. I'm going to set the Call of the Haunted. He's going to bring back Drill. He's going to add back Caius. He's going to pitch to protect the Drill, playing as safely as possible here, pitching the Lone Fire. Sacrificing for Caius, targeting the Machina Fortress, emptying his hand first to make sure he can banish my Machina Fortress. And he's going to attack, and I'm going to Call of the Haunted, the Ancient Yugioh Dragon, and maybe, just maybe, I can win this one. Alas, as I'm sure you guys are putting together the math, we are 100 life points short. So, I survived game 1 with 100 life points, and he's going to survive game 2 with 100 life points to make this, thus far, one of the closest matches I have ever played. Both games just really down to the wire. We're going to pay 1,000, normal summon Cyber Dragon. Now, I could have just attacked over the Caius and passed. and stayed at 3,200 and not used terraforming for Mausoleum. I could have done that. And let's say he brings back the Drill Warrior. But then, what am I doing? You know what I mean? He attacks me for 1,200, he pitches Dandy, and then he has 2 tokens, and then I'm never winning. So, it's basically this, and lose in style. Or, lose over the next 2 turns. But I definitely punted this game. So I attack for 6,000, whatever. Synchro into Fortress Dragon. And pass the turn, drill, add back Caius, and we're going to game 3. Okay. Game 3, Heartbreaker. Just kidding. I don't remember how game 3 goes. How does game 3 go? Oh, game 3 is pretty good. We got that needle ceiling back. I draw, and I just pass. I don't want to commit anything. I kind of want him to be scared of Gores. He's obviously not scared of Gores. And he obviously opens the nuts. So, yeah, that's pretty tough. This is all... I just wanted to play a fun game with my Ancient Gear deck. I just wanted to not be dead on turn 2. So I draw Gramble, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to pitch special the Machina Fortress. Now I could bring out my other Machina Fortress here, but that means I'm playing super hard into my own needle ceiling. I want to try and attack Machina Fortress into Stardust Dragon, crash, trade, blow up his back row, set Gramble. He brings back Drill. He adds back, I don't fucking know, maybe Debris Dragon. And then maybe, just maybe, I can needle ceiling there, blow up his Drill, his 2 tokens, and then if he summons Debris Dragon, I can solemn it and then reversal this game. I basically just need his back row to be like, I don't fucking know. Something not real. But in hindsight, I definitely should have summoned the Gremlin. It was an absolute mistake for me not to do that. It just plays through everything. And honestly, I needed to blow up my Gremlin to the needle ceiling to have a chance this game anyway. Because there's no shot, there's just no back row in the game that this doesn't play around, So he takes my Machina Fortress, but also sacking it. So he doesn't even switch it to defense. Just to make it even harder for me to resolve this needle ceiling. I set 2 pass, he adds back the Drill, he adds back Debris, and I'm just like, well, fuck me. Just kidding, adds back Danny. He pitches Dandy, banishes the Drill. Again, doesn't want to play into the back row, which is pretty heads-up stuff. He's going to go ahead and sack for Cyber Dragon. And then I make the most dumbass decision in my entire life. I tell my opponent he fucked up. Never tell your opponent they messed up, because then you give them the chance to correct the play later on. I told him, this is why it's tragic, I told him, always tribute set there. Always. Why would you tribute summon there? You just tribute set there. Oh my god. You can see where this game is going, right? Set back row pass. I summon the gear frame. And he says, right. Oh well. And he says, now I probably lose. And I was like, well, maybe. I can still punt it yet again. So I summon gear frame. All I need to do is crash Fortress into Stardust Dragon and pass. That's all I need to do. But I equipped the gear frame. For some fucking reason, I equipped the gear frame. And now I can't clear my own monster. So Cyber Dragon's for sure lethal. I guaranteed lethal for my opponent. I'm so bad. I crashed Cyber Dragon, and I'm just sitting here like, fuck me. All I needed to do was leave the gear frame in play. I'm so bad. Blow up the back row. It's a dead trap dust shoot. That's what I was hoping it was last turn. He gets in I didn't attack the token. He goes Drill Warrior, add back Cyber Dragon. There's just nothing I can do here. Because he can tribute set the Cyber Dragon, contact fuse, because I told him how to do it. And even if he tribute summons the Cyber Dragon, well, if he tribute summons it again, I do win. He punts again. So I should have not, A, said anything to him, and B, I should have not equipped the gear frame so I could needle ceiling here. He wouldn't be able to Cyber Dragon, and then I could normal Grand Mole and start poking him. But yeah, I just played this game so poorly. Learn from my mistakes, folks. Learn from my mistakes. I made 4 really critical mistakes this match, and I lost both game 2 and game 3 because of my own mistakes. So, yeah, sometimes you hand the game to your opponent on a silver platter, and that's exactly what happened here. So, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on X or Twitter or whatever if you want to vote in the polls. And I am going to be playing in an Edison tournament at the end of this month. More details on that soon. And you guys can help me pick my deck, because I like playing decks that you guys think are cool, and I like playing decks that are fun to cover for videos, and I can do like advanced guides on it and stuff to you afterwards. So let me know what you guys in the comments below, what you guys want to see me play in the tournament at the end of the month, and I'll talk to you guys in the next vid. Peace.